Assalamu alaikum. Every story, it has a start, a beginning point, just filled with potential. And for the story of humanity, well, the sources we're looking at today suggest that beginning was in a place, and maybe more importantly, a state, that might actually surprise you.
That's absolutely right. Our exploration today, it's guided by insights from excerpts of a really profound book, Ita School Each. That translates roughly to Adam's Inheritance, Parapsychology, and it's by Hazrat Khawaja Shamsuddin Azeemi. It offers a, let's say, unique perspective on Adam's initial journey.
Right, so our mission in this deep dive is to unpack the powerful narrative in these writings. Where did Adam begin? What was that first home like? What caused the shift? And crucially, is there a way back? A really key element here, which the source highlights, is something called Ilm-ul-Azma, the knowledge of the names or attributes.
Exactly. And the text dives straight into this. It starts with the foundational idea of Adam's initial state and the place he was first connected with.
Okay, so let's unpack this straight away. According to this text by Hazrat Khawaja Shamsuddin Azeemi, where was Adam first? And how is that place tied into this Ilm-ul-Azma?
Well, the source is quite clear on this. It states Adam's first station, the place Allah initially bestowed upon him, was Jannah, paradise as it's usually understood. But here's where it gets really interesting, the connection it makes immediately. The text says the first blessing a human gets through knowing Allah's Asma, those divine attributes or names, is also called Jannah.
That's fascinating. So Jannah isn't just a physical place, maybe. It's also a state of being you achieve through a specific kind of knowledge.
Precisely. The text directly links knowing Allah's attributes to understanding his creation, because Allah is Al-Khaliq, the creator. Every attribute is, in a way, a creation itself, a manifestation. So Adam was introduced to the reality of creation, the fabric of existence, through Ilm-ul-Azma, this deep knowing of the divine attributes.
And what did getting this knowledge actually do for Adam, according to the source? What was the effect?
It immediately gave him a unique status, a distinction, a superiority over all other beings. And the very first result, the first manifestation of this seniority and understanding was the state of Jannah itself. The source describes it quite vividly. When this knowledge of Asma became active within Adam, when he truly became acquainted with these attributes, he found himself in Jannah.
So can you describe what that Jannah atmosphere or state was like? Based on the source, I mean? It sounds different.
Oh, it's painted as just absolute freedom. The senses work without any density holding them back. There's no confusion, no worry at all, none of the hardship of feeling confined. Sustenance isn't even a thought, no anxiety about earning a living, no fear about doing something or not doing something, no fear of losing anything. It's just described as pure peace, deep comfort, and complete ease in every single way.
Wow, that sounds incredible, utterly peaceful. Now, the text also connects this to something really significant, the first step of Niyabat and Khilafat, vicegerency or stewardship on earth. How does reaching that state relate to taking on that role?
According to the source, moving towards that station means shedding all those layers of typical human suffering. Feelings like, calamity, mental confusion, insecurity, sadness, poverty, difficulty, fear, they're lifted. The only side of life left is this peace, comfort, ease, and what the text calls dominion. It uses an analogy, actually. Just like the Creator is free from need, when his attribute of self-sufficiency, samadhiyat, stirs within a person, they start experiencing states that reflect that attribute. So this inner freedom and peace, unlocked by divine knowledge, is presented as the essential foundation for real vicegerency.
It's hard to imagine anything disrupting that kind of state. Complete peace, dominion. But the story takes a turn. There's a specific command and then an act that changes everything. What does the source say happened?
Yes, the text points directly to the command in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 35. O Adam, dwell you and your wife in Jannah, and eat therefrom cheerfully from wherever you will, but do not approach this tree, lest you be among the wrongdoers.
And Adam's response to that, our father Adam.
According to the text.
Yeah.
Well, he couldn't be patient. He didn't adhere to the command and became guilty of disobedience.
Okay, so what was the immediate result? What happened the moment that disobedience occurred, according to the source? What shifted from that Jannah state?
Well, as soon as that happened, the entrusted thing, the amanat, that divine gift, that potential unlocked by Ilm-ul-Azma, it didn't disappear, but it went behind a veil, a curtain. And this veil itself, it became a kind of new life for Adam, described as a temporary deprivation from that original state.
Can you describe the contrast the source draws between life before that act in Jannah and life after, behind this veil?
It's stark. The entrusted life, Jannah life, was all about deep peace and comfort. But the moment Adam broke that connection through disobedience, that peace, that ease, gone, darkness replaced light, sadness took over from happiness, he became bound, confined, basically put in a prison instead of the freedom he had. The text says he was then forced to leave Jannah, filled with regret and despair.
That sounds absolutely devastating, a complete fall from that state. But the source also seems to emphasize Allah's mercy, doesn't it? Even after such a significant disobedience.
That's exactly the crucial point the source makes. What's really fascinating here is that despite the disobedience, despite what the text calls this ingratitude toward the immense blessing of Jannah, Allah, in his mercy and generosity, still favored Adam. The source is very explicit. The amanat, that precious trust, that potential,
Yeah.
it was not snatched away.
Okay, hold on. If the amanat wasn't taken, if the potential was still there, what actually happened? What is this veil?
Adam, by his own will, his own choice, put the veil over it. The source uses this powerful image. It's like deliberately closing your eyes to the incredible treasures related to Taskir-e-Kainat, the subjugation of the universe that Allah had already given him access to.
Taskir-e-Kainat, like understanding the deeper workings of existence.
Perhaps, yeah, that capacity to interact with reality beyond just the physical. So the veil, the source essentially defines it as self-made disobedience. It wasn't a punishment where God took the gift away. It was a state Adam brought upon himself through his action.
Okay, so if the veil is self-made, something Adam himself put up, does the source offer a way back? Is it actually possible to return to that original state?
Yes, definitely. The hope of return is absolutely central to the narrative presented by Hazrat Khawaja Shamsuddin Azeemi. Despite how serious the act was, the source clearly says Allah showed mercy and confirmed that Jannah, their true homeland, could still be reached. The condition, it's simple, really. They have to remove this self-made veil of disobedience from themselves. The text says as soon as that veil is torn away, they will re-enter Jannah.
It sounds like there's also this inherent memory or knowledge of that original state, even when the veil is there.
Exactly right. The source mentions that even when a person is living behind this veil, the soul described maybe as the subconscious, our deeper self, it knows its real home is Jannah. It remembers that original life of peace, ease, freedom. And interestingly, the text says even the layer of disobedience within us, maybe our limited, ego-driven consciousness that resulted from the expulsion, it also knows this truth about the homeland, even while it pulls us away. And how does divine guidance keep trying to help people find this path back? What does the source say about that? Well, Allah promised to keep sending guides from among humanity, prophets, messengers, to draw attention back to this great blessing, this potential they have, but are cut off from when they get lost or forget. The source notes, I think, 124,000 prophets were sent for Adam's offspring, who fell into this state of rebellion. But sadly, the text observes, humanity often chose not to listen, instead following the whispers of the same Shaitan al-Rajim, the outcast Satan who prompted Adam's initial disobedience. It really highlights this constant divine effort versus our persistent self-made hurdles.
So the source paints a really, really stark picture of life lived behind this veil, doesn't it? This temporary state. How is this earthly existence described, especially compared to the freedom of Jannah?
Oh, it's described in very blunt terms. It's called a prison, a punishment, a temporary life, even a fiction. There's that powerful line, Kuch bhi karo bo aakhir ye zindagi tumhe chhoni hai. Basically, whatever you do, eventually you have to leave this life. The text calls this state asfalas asafilin. It means the lowest of the low, a real state of degradation compared to the original potential.
And the mind, the kind of mind that operates in this prison state of asfala safilin.
The text says that as long as you're living on earth as a prisoner, the mind working within you is the mind of disobedience. It's the very consciousness that led to the veil and caused Jannah, that original state, to cast you out. It's a mind conditioned by that separation.
That's a powerful idea. Operating from a mind of disobedience. The source also gets very real about the physical side of this state, right? The fate of the body is described quite graphically.
Yes, it does. It gives a very direct, almost visceral description of the decay inherent in this earthly life. It says every moment is a kind of dying and being reborn into the next. Day dies, night is born, night dies, day is born. Childhood dies, youth is born. Youth dies, old age comes. And when old age dies, the person disappears. Gone. It uses the analogy of a beautiful statue just crumbling back into soil. Every organ eventually turns into particles of soil. Bones, the structure itself, become ash. And the brain, the very thing that can lead to arrogance, oppression, even thinking oneself God, that brain is also eaten by the soil. And then other people like us just walk over those particles, trampling them underfoot.
Wow, that's quite a contrast. That decay and disappearance here versus the complete freedom and, well, permanence maybe of the Jannah state. Is there genuinely a way, according to Hazrat Khawaja Shamsuddin Azeemi's source, to escape this cycle, to reclaim that original state from within this asfal as-safilin?
Yes, absolutely. The source offers real, profound hope and a clear path. It states, in direct contrast to that decay, that if a person manages to become acquainted with the Jannah brain while living in this lower life, is as falls in Dagiman, meaning that inherent potential, that original connection upon which the angels prostrated to Adam, if they connect with that, then Adam's true self becomes eternally living. His inheritance, Jannah, isn't just a lost past, it's returned to him.
So, making that connection with this Jannah brain while we're still here in this life, that's the key the source presents.
According to the narrative we're exploring from Hazrat Khawaja Shamsuddin Azeemi's text, yes, that's presented as the way, the means to remove that self-imposed veil, to regain the inheritance of Jannah, and to achieve an eternally living state that goes beyond the limits and decay described for life in its false feeling. It's really about activating that original divine spark within us.
Wow. Okay, that is quite a journey laid out in these sources. From a state of Jannah reached through this deep divine knowledge, ilm-ul-azma, then through an act of disobedience creating a self-imposed veil, leading to this experience of temporary life described as a prison, the lowest of the low, but crucially pointing towards a path back by reconnecting with this inner potential, what the source calls the Jannah brain.
Exactly. It's a narrative that really hammers home the point that the divine gift, the Amanat, it wasn't actually taken away. It was just veiled, covered up by our own choices, our own actions, and the possibility of getting back our true inheritance, that state of peace, freedom, eternal life. It all hinges on our own effort to remove that veil and activate that original Jannah brain.
So for you listening right now, think about this. This ancient narrative drawn from these sources, it's about much more than just figures from the past, isn't it? It's asking you to look at your own state. Why does this idea of a self-imposed veil or living in a temporary prison, why does that matter when you're dealing with the real stuff, the pressures and anxieties of your life today?
Well, the source strongly suggests that a lot of the struggles we face, the suffering, the anxiety, that feeling being trapped or limited, the lack of deep, abiding peace, are direct results of living behind that veil, of operating day to day with that mind of disobedience that's disconnected from our true original potential.
Which really leaves us with a powerful final thought to mull over from this deep dive. If the source is suggesting that our current struggles often stem from being veiled from this incredible inner treasure, disconnected from this vital Jannah brain, what does it mean for you personally to even start identifying what that veil might look like in your own life? The self-imposed limits, choices, ways of thinking that obscure your potential. And how might you even begin to cultivate a connection to that original inner potential right here, right now, even while navigating the challenges of what the source calls asfala sifrlin?